Hello and welcome to another exciting Bringing the Thunder. That's right, I'm back and I have a new guest with me, although you might remember him. I think he was here in one of the very first katas, I believe. So, who are you and what do you do here at Skyline?
Hi Jan,
Hello.
My name is Thijs. I'm an engineering manager at Skyline and our team focuses specifically on the satellite vertical, so we create everything in our SatOps.
Yeah, everything to do with satellites and space.
Yep.
I love it, amazing, because that's going to be one of the fun topics of today. I saw the title in my meeting invite and I think it said Starlink solution and a lot of fun stuff there, so I got really excited. So I'm very interested, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are as well, as what we are going to actually be doing. So you've prepared something for us to have a look at, maybe even play around with. Any prerequisites? Should we install something? Should we do something?
If you want to follow the exercises yourself, it's easy to just spin up DAS, because then that way you're also on the latest feature releases. The minimum version is also specified on the package that you will see, which will be our start to get going with the exercises.
Perfect.
I would say go ahead, follow along and play along with what we will do.
Okay, great.
So,
and do the people need these attributes that you have so strategically placed here, which are uncommon?
Not necessarily.
A big white thing over there, that's the satellite dish.
So that's the antenna.
The antenna.
And this one is then connected with the router.
The router.
So basically, our solution is there to integrate the data sources of Starlink terminal fleets. So typically this is not just one antenna, but if you have a whole lot of them and you want to manage that efficiently, then DataMiner is definitely the tool for that.
Right, the fleet. So if you have like a lot of moving vehicles or things?
Not necessarily moving, could be a combination of fixed and mobile antennas, but in general, like if you're having hundreds of those antennas to manage or thousands of those antennas to manage, then a nice solution on top to help you monitor and do some control with that.
I can't wait. So what do we do there? So I see we're on the catalog. So
so we can navigate to the Starlink Enterprise product solution. So in here, what we see is a package that will deploy one-click installer. So with this package, it will throw in some connectors, ad hoc data sources, visuals, and a low-code app on top of it. So let's get going. So I can start off by deploying this latest version.
So anyone can follow along with that. You can find it on the catalog. We can, click on the deployment and put it on one of your systems. Is this something? Is it like a pre-release or is it a stable release?
This is already the official release.
An official full release. Okay, cool.
So of course, not everyone has these antennas readily available, and in order for all of you to be able to explore and see what the solution is capable of, by default it will actually start up in an environment where it has some simulation data. So you don't have to tweak or install anything yourself. So let's take a look. So in the meantime, we see on this empty DataMiner system here, we can see that already some things pop up. So if you check your information events, you should see the installation going.
The installation.
So the package is installed successfully.
Perfect.
What will this bring to you? You will see a view structure being created, and then we also see an element representing the Starlink Enterprise base data set. So a lot of information here, and this is really the backend, the raw data. Of course, as a user, you will not.
I want to see some visuals.
Yeah, indeed. We will go with some visualizations on top of that. So let me bring you back to the DataMiner.services, because after you've now deployed this one, it's important to go to the home page of your DataMiner environment, and here you will see the SatOps apps being created, and now we have your first SatOps application, which is the Starlink Enterprise. And from
so that's a low-code app delivered alongside with what we just saw with the raw data and all of that. Okay, cool. And then this one, that gives us a very awesome visual overview already.
So just by opening it up, here we are immediately onto the first overview landing page. People at home, everywhere you are, if you followed along and you deployed it, you will also already see the data. Again, the data you see here
This is simulated
is
as
simulated
just as
accounts,
a, you know,
yes, just to have some data
because
represented.
not everyone has 173 user terminals, and you know.
No, but in the field sometimes
in the field they might have,
we see 2,000, 5,000 or more
awesome.
of these.
Cool.
The cool thing about this is that now this whole environment runs in simulation mode. If you already have your Starlink Enterprise account yourself, you can actually go back to Cube, and in there you can
swap it maybe to
you can just configure,
production.
and you can just say like, okay, let's go to the configuration, and as soon as you enter your client ID and secret, it will automatically switch away from the simulation mode.
Cool.
And then from that point onwards, it's going to be your actual live data that will be pulled.
Okay, so you gave kind of like a built-in sandbox pretty much that you can have, and that's the actual solution. It's not a separate package, it's the same package, but there's a built-in sandbox mode to play around with. That's awesome, that's fun.
And the cool thing, and that's also something that you will explore today in this exercise that we will do, is that this environment is also very useful, because then it can help you or the user to develop, to play around, and to try to build in with your own creativity use cases that you
learn how the solution works without actually having to do any, access to devices or actual data, stuff like that. Cool.
Yeah. If you follow along, so here in the solution, let me go into full screen mode. So the first page is the overview. On the left we see we only have actually 2 entry point pages. It's 2 different ways of navigating. So the first one is of course very visual. We have the map,
nice
we can zoom in, and you can identify terminals on the fly. If you click on one of these terminals, you will also see some extra details linked to that terminal.
Okay.
And from here, and we'll get back to that one, we can go onto other pages with more statistics, data usage,
referencing and linking in there. Okay.
We can also see a list overview of all the active alerts. So if you want to see like, okay, here we have a high sky obstruction, by just clicking on that one, it will also highlight the exact position where this one is. So you can also use that to then go back onto the details. Once you've selected that terminal, you can then go onto the statistics page. This is a hidden local app page, and it's designed to then also have an overview of all of the things.
All the things, So and that's done by clicking on that terminal button. So if you click the terminal button, it'll start loading up some of the statistics and metrics there. Where was that exam? So you so you click on, so you first get the location, clicking on that, and then going to the statistics for that one. Okay, so then that shows you some more data. And
so as we've now navigated on this page, we see already some metadata, so you can also see the kit number, serial number, the service line number, so the contract of the data, but also some trending components. And of course, as this is a very new installed environment, you see the history is only going back for like 5 to 10 minutes from the start from our deployment. But here you already have some visualizations where you can then see the signal quality, as well as then the uplink and downlink throughputs.
For that specific
terminal. Correct.
Right, but it's all, you all work from it from the map view, and from there you can click on.
Another detail you can visualize, so instead of just having the terminal details, you can also go in and see the data usage, but we'll get back to that one. First of all, allow me to show the next page, which is, again, it's the same data, but it's a different point of
visualized a bit different.
So here we're focusing more on a table view, where in this table you'll see there are also, if you would open up the local app, there are extra joins done with different tables, combining then IP information as well as the terminal.
So that's kind of a table that aggregates a bit of information from those different terminals into a single table.
Correct.
To view it.
And then again, from here we added the exact same buttons to open up the details or the statistics.
All right, so those are those icons there. Okay. Some insights.
If I now clicked on the data insights, this means that for this specific terminal that I selected, we can now also start visualizing the consumption rate. So at the bottom we see the monthly, so of the past months. Right now we have the history of 2 months in here, and the daily usage in the middle section, you can then also choose and say, for example, okay, let's have a look at previous month. So with the timebox components, you can very easily showcase the history of that specific terminal. And then at the top table is the overage line. So that means the additional cost that you caused on that specific terminal. So every terminal has a service agreement and it has X number of gigabytes a month.
Yeah.
If you cross over that one, you will drop from priority over to standard.
And you get some insights there to have a look at that. You will monitor them. Okay, very cool. It's very cool to see a lot of these components that we've seen in previous katas and how to make them. Actually seeing them applied in such a magnificent solution is pretty fun. Also to see.
That's also why it's been a while that I was here. I was still using all of these components to finally make a
full nice solution here. That's really fun to see.
Yeah. So from this is basically now the solution. I want to showcase how easy it is to, first of all, having this installed. So hopefully everyone followed along and already has it. So
that would have already been
we've seen it very out of the box product solution.
Yes.
And now we also want to showcase that with your own creativity, you can go as flexible as to what you need. And before we start the exercise, I want to go back for a second into the cube version. And if we look in the user terminals table...
Yeah, so that was more the raw data.
Yeah, the raw data, we can search for cruise. And you will see that one of the terminals is named the Skyline Demo Cruise.
We're going on a cruise.
And we're going on a cruise.
Great.
What you will see specifically with that terminal is that if we scroll a bit to the right, we have the latitude and longitude. So the location details of the terminals, if they are fixed or mobile, this information is also pulled in via the API. And the cool thing is that when trending, and this is now enabled by default, if we open up the trend graph, then you can actually see that over the past weeks or days, there is some movement. But of course, this
latitude has been changing over time.
But you have not really any clue what this data represents, right? But that's now the cool thing, and that's the exercise that we will do all together, which will be an extra page that we will create in our local app. And the goal will be, if you select a certain terminal, that you can, with the time component, say, hey, let's give me the location and the tracking, and we're going to actually plot
on that map
where a specific terminal has moved. So that could be either on a vehicle. Imagine a bus doing a lengthy route, and you want to provide internet service to people on that bus. Then that might be one of the use cases. In our case, the name is the Demo Cruise, so you can already imagine we're going to be on a cruise ship, on the water, and having some
fun. I hope we're on the water. I mean, if one of them goes over land, then be confused. But no, cool. So the exercise is going to be pretty much showcasing how easy it is to extend the solution that you're already getting out of the box. So that's amazing.
Because in the end, the data is there. And now it's just up to you.
Data is there. We give you already a very nice something out of the box you can just work with, but it doesn't disallow the extending of it, so you can extend it. Okay, cool. So let's get into it.
Before we start, I would advise to start off by creating a duplicate. That way, let's say we have the first version being the standard solution. That also means that
you can play with it.
Over time we also iterate, and you will see this as a work in progress. Over time, we are releasing new features and adding new features onto the base solution as well. That way, you also safeguard your own version of it.
So either duplicating it, making a new one, or a dashboard or local app. But either way, it's not a bad idea indeed to have a duplication and then work on that one. Cool.
So let's start off by duplicating.
Okay.
And let's just name it Kata. All right, so I've shown you the overview page. I've also shown you the user terminal page. In the end, from both pages, we could bring the app into a hidden page, which was the statistics or the data usage. And by, let's say, because we don't want to duplicate these source pages, we are actually using a flow that can either link the indice, so the key of your terminal selection on the map, or the key from your table view onto one and the same flow.
Yeah. I think we've had a cut on the workflows before and how that kind of works, so we're going to be using that one.
So, but in this case, you don't need to configure it. I'm just saying that we're using that
That's
one.
in the background.
But in background, it's already there. So it means as soon as we now create a new data page, we can very easily just build on top of that component as well. What I like in the current solution is that we immediately see we have a nice title. We already have the standard box information with all of the key details linked to that terminal, which you have selected.
Yes.
So instead of starting from a blank new page, what I would advise here is just take the statistics, duplicate from that one. And the first thing we can now do is, let's call this one location insights, and let's quickly also pick another icon. You will see you can here either make it visible or invisible. In this case, I would suggest to keep it invisible. That way you only have your entry points, and then we'll create some buttons to bring you to that page.
Makes sense. Okay,
so we renamed the page. Maybe here we can also change now.
Okay, and you started from the terminal statistics.
Yeah, from the statistics page, I made a duplicate.
Yeah.
We created the location insights, gave it a new icon. Here I'm changing the title already. And then next to that, we can keep the top part because these are all of the components linked to that terminal. And then, of course, here the trend graphs and all of that, we can delete these. If you use Control, you can select multiple items and then with delete,
quick
you can do
tip
that
there.
in
Nice.
bulk. And let's maybe already just start off by creating this page. And the next thing we can still do is make sure we can navigate to that page. So how to do that? We said, okay, we want to go from the first landing page. When you select a terminal, there is a side panel opening up. So here on the panels, you see the terminal info panel, which was popping up on the right side. If we edit this page, you see already the two buttons to bring us to the statistics or the data usage. So again, let's just duplicate one of these buttons, move it there as well.
Right, okay. So just adding another button in there where the other two were already located. Okay, makes sense. And then we're going to change the properties and configuration of that one.
That should be very simple indeed. So on click, we now expect this new button to open a page, not the data usage, but now the location insights.
Yeah.
All right, and that's all we need to do. And of course, on the layout, we probably want to
change the name of it as well, or the display.
Location insights and the flag. All right, and this will bring us onto that one. I'm already gonna publish it.
Sure.
To have also a new version created, or you could also already preview it. But,
have a look if it works.
Let's indeed already see what this brings us.
Never a bad idea to work in iterations.
Yeah.
Try something, see if it works, go back, because otherwise if you do too much in one go, speaking as a programmer, then suddenly you're like, okay, something broke. Which of the things did I add that didn't work? But never a good idea, never a bad idea to...
So now we selected again a terminal. I'm specifically taking the one in Barcelona. Everyone will see that specific terminal because that's also the one having that history. The other terminals are today in the simulation environment, fixed environment.
Okay, so for testing purposes, best to use the Barcelona one here because that one has some history.
That's exactly where our cruise starts and finishes as well.
Good location.
From that one, we now see the button, and if we click on it, it brings us to that one, and we can already see without having to even tweak and play with that flow.
The same data.
The same data is already pre-initialized and loaded.
Yes.
So let's move on. So we've seen in the cube that longitude, latitude is stranded, so there is data on that specific terminal. So now the question is, how do we pull in that data onto our app? Let's go in, and what you will need, and you might have, of course, learned this from previous katas as well, is we're going to have to create a query.
A GQI query.
GQI query, and this is basically pulling in the data from an ad hoc data source.
Okay, so there's an ad hoc data source already provided alongside with this application. Okay.
Right, so just giving it a name, location history, average 5 minutes, because that's also the name of our ad hoc data source. What that ad hoc data source basically does is it allows you to link an element, link a specific key, so the user terminal, and then also allows you to add the start and stop time span, because then it will give you that list of data points of location details.
Okay.
So we need to configure our GQI query.
A few inputs there, they're not red. So
on the first page below the table, there was actually a drop down with elements. The reason why we do this is because this whole solution is linked to protocol parameters. So that way, it doesn't matter where you deploy it, it's always going to show up all of the data. And the advantage here is also that if you would have multiple of these Starlink Enterprise base elements, if you have, like, imagine you have very large data sets, then also in the app, it can overlay and bring all of that data all together in one unified view.
Okay.
So we can repurpose that object. So this is something that is on the first page, the overview page, and this is our drop-down number 29. For everyone, that will be the same. I'm not sure if we can actually rename these drop-downs, because that would be maybe...
Well, that would be a bit better, I guess, than drop-down 29, but for now, it's drop-down 29.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I can show you after entering all of the details. Oh, and actually, let me first show it, because then let's go, because else it's indeed maybe a bit more confusing. So this box is
the drop-down.
A drop-down, and it lists basically all of your Starlink Enterprise accounts. And as we only have one, by default, the first one is selected, so that one will already prompt the value.
Okay, but that one of the inputs of that ad hoc data source is specifically the selection of your account or your element.
The element itself.
The element itself.
Yeah, because imagine if there would be multiple elements.
Then you need to know which one. Okay.
In most cases, you will only end up with one element.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so that's our first input.
That's the first
specific
input.
drop-down.
Yeah, and before I continue configuring, I mentioned we have the element, we have the terminal instance, so that's our flow, and then we also have the start and stop, the time span fields. So before we do that, we actually will need a new component to be drawn on there, and that's the time range.
Right, so we can select how much time we want to retrieve, how much of the data we want to get, and then visualize.
Exactly. So the time range component, and now having that one, we can continue modifying our GQI source. So the ad hoc data source, get ad hoc data source. We select Starlink get history geolocations average 5 minutes. Then the element ID was our drop-down 29. Then in this case, you want to select the element data from it, and it's the ID that we need. So we link that component. Then the next one is our user terminal device ID. And if I filter here on flow, you will see, and the icon already presents the flow structure, you can already select then the link user terminal ID selection.
All right.
And again, here we want the primary key, because in the background we're going to fetch the history
based on the primary key of
data source.
Okay.
And now the last thing is the range, start and end. So this one is now coming from the component on this page.
We're going to link that to the new component we added with the time start and stop.
Yeah. So if we here just enter time, so we see on the current view time range 13 as the new component, and now you can choose the property from or to. So in this case, we first link the from, and then the end of the time range is the exact same component, but now of course
with the end or the to
link. You can do a lot more configurations now on this component. Right now it's still saying it has an issue because we didn't select any of the terminals, but that's fine. So we can just go ahead and save. And next thing up, before we put on the maps component, I always advise, so we have now the query, but we need to double check, is the query correctly configured, is it working? I always find it most easy to just visualize a table and
just for testing purposes, you can add a table component and then have the query output into that, just to have a quick look.
So now we can see on the GQI queries, if we select
the one we just
query,
created,
we can just drag it on there or select from the other side.
Yeah, and now I think if we publish that or have a preview.
Either publish it, or we could also still in the app just go here
and select, okay.
Yeah, and if we zoom in, now again, remember it's important to
Barcelona.
go to Barcelona, because the others will most likely only have one data set, because it's never changing.
Part of the kata, important to go to Barcelona, guys. Look, we've been given the task. There's no choice. Cool. So when we then select that terminal, it should update the query and then start outputting that into that table, just to have a look if everything works.
No, I see the query most likely because it did not have the selector, it actually didn't save properly. So we're gonna have to redo this last piece.
Okay. But that's why we test things, eh?
Yeah,
so,
indeed. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, indeed we did see a little error there when we first did it. We just ignored it. Never a good idea to ignore an error, as we can see. But the error means that you first need to have a terminal selected, so that when we make the query, it can already validate itself to see everything working. So we're probably gonna just kind of, well, we could fast forward through this. We're doing the exact same thing, I guess. So yeah, I'll see you in 10 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back. So we went through this again and we had something selected now. That means now we have a query that's saved and I can see the data already.
Yeah,
right?
so I still need to finish off, done, but we can indeed already see there is some data. And let me maybe sort, because something that we added on there is we don't really know how many data points there will be returned, but there is some sampling involved to, let's say, not give you back thousands of data points, because then the UI would most likely also not be that functional anymore to visualize
so
the
in
data that you're interested
in.
in.
Ad hoc data source itself, in the code there, you've added something that kind of samples or limits the...
Yeah. So it will today only go back and provide up to 1,000 samples, and we also made sure that the last sample will always have ID 1000, because then it's easier if you want to do some coloring or formatting on top of that.
You always know what the last identifier is going to be.
But we can see data, so longitude, latitude, timestamps.
Looks
so
okay.
That's very promising. Next thing up is going back, select now a new, different component.
We're gonna want a map, right?
And now, of course, we want the map. So
cool.
There in the middle, we have the map. Let's drag it on there. And now this one should be simple to configure.
I suppose we add or we drag drop the same query on there, or is there some more configuration?
No, it's as simple as that. So we drag on this query. We already see the map component loading. And now if we go to the layout, we now need to start configuring.
Okay, so there's a bit of configuration. So what are we adding in there now? So
we have the map.
Yes.
Then on the right with the layout, you can now see the layer. So by default, it will already add one layer. You could rename them, and if you would have use case where you add multiple layers on top here, you would also then be able to...
Yeah, on the map we can have several...
Yeah. So you can have the checkbox
fun.
functionality to show or hide then certain layers. So, but for our first layer, if you collapse and go in, you will see it has some things to be configured, but as the data source is actually just having an output of the 3 components, it magically already does that for you, so you actually don't need to do the configurations anymore. So the ID is the ID, latitude and longitude, and that's it. And the next thing up is that we need to configure the template. So by default it's just a shape. Let's add a new layer, small icon. So tool. Yeah, let's do the icon. make a selection, you make drawing, and now we can change, and for example, let's make a spiral.
Okay.
Just gonna max this one so that is nicely filling up the 15 by 15 pixels
All right.
format.
So it's just an icon that we created there now, or?
Yeah, so now in the layers you will see we have two shapes.
Okay.
So by default, let's maybe take one of the colors to then have something.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So it's going to, for every data point, it's going to
create a shape.
That
yes.
shape that we just made with the template. So we just made a small blue button, or button, a circle. So for every data point, it'll do that, and which will then create.
Exactly.
Okay,
so we can already test now. I've already hit the publish button, so we can have a saved iteration. It's always also good because here in the app you can also see your versions, and that way you also allow yourself to go back, test and iterate.
So now if you go to
so we select the Barcelona terminal, and now the new button, location insights, and we still need to zoom in a bit, but as you can see, we already actually see a movement.
You can see the location of our cruise ship who started in Barcelona.
So the time filter is now just doing today so far. So means
everything today.
The boat arrived today in its port in Barcelona. So if we already play around and just say like, oh, let's have a look, last 2 days, you'll actually see that more data points start to appear. So you can see like, hey, this is where it's coming from. And if I would even say last 30 days, the cruise is an 8-day cruise. You see the whole,
circuits around the same area there. Right, so that's fun. So that data, well, this is now sandboxed, of course, but that data technically comes from just the data we collect from the terminals, from the Starlink terminals and all of that. That's really fun, and extended the original app here to show that page. Very, very fun. So
let's do some minor fine-tuning and then probably we can wrap up the exercise. So we can also say, like in our case, we're mainly interested in Europe for this exercise, or let's say what we need out of it. So that also means on the component, you can do the map settings and you can say save current view. So that way it will prefix to the zoom level and already be in that area.
Okay, so that's a quick tip. Okay, so if you zoom in there, you can save that current.
Yeah, with the map settings, save current view. So it will then take the map's center as to where it is.
Okay.
Something else we can configure. So on the layers, there's plenty of stuff, of course, that you could do. Imagine if we say, okay, we want to know where the last, where the cruise ended, or what's our last point in that data set, because right now you don't really know if it's going left or right.
Okay, now here's going to be the magic on why you had 1,000 as the last index,
so we can add a conditional case on this shape, where we can, for example, just very easily say, okay, let's pick the green color for this one, and the condition should now be on the ID. If
it's 1,000,
the ID is indeed 1,000.
Then we change the color of that circle that we put on there. Okay.
And let's do one more item. So on the spiral that it's just an icon. What we can also do on this one, we could also add a conditional case. And what you can also do is you can say, for example, if it's selected, what should happen? So we say conditional formatting. If this shape is being selected, we now also want to maybe show a different color. And
all right, so just when you click it, it
highlights. And it will remain that color as long as it's selected. But on top of that, what is also interesting is that you can also, on click of that shape, we can also generate an action. And what the example I would like to show as well is to push a notification, and we can, for example, say, okay, if we clicked one of these dots, we can say timestamp for this location, and then in the message we can now use the curly braces, and with that one you can just type in timestamp.
Okay.
And this is the column of our GQI query, the table. That's why it's also again important that we showcase first the table query,
so
because then you know what data you have, what you can do with that one.
Okay, this is gonna give like a pop-up or something.
And it's gonna automatically disappear in 5 seconds, and we just hit OK, we save that, and we can do a final publish.
Okay.
And let's do our final test round.
The final test round, so
the Barcelona.
Clicking on Barcelona, we're going to a new page that we created. Then in there we can
already see the green icon.
Yes.
So that's the last. So this is the arrival in the port. But if we now say, for example, okay, let's go back 8 days. So from the 10th of February till today, we immediately will see the whole cruise with Barcelona, Marseille, Monaco, and then
the last thing was if we click on something.
So now, of course, you want to know, at what point, for example, did the boat arrive in Rome? Then here you see at the bottom timestamp for this location, and you see also the color changing to purple.
Amazing exercise. Well, for everyone that was following along, I guess we should have them make a screenshot of a particular page, maybe what we're looking at here. Maybe click on something, click on one of the buttons. There, screenshot that.
Yeah, with the time location.
With the pop-up of the time location. Or technically we should probably ask that they do the one with the green start, but that's all fine. If you can send in a screenshot showing that you followed along with this really fun exercise on extending this already amazing solution, the Starlink Enterprise solution here, then send that in. We'll give you your DevOps points for that. But better yet, I hope you did learn something from this and you were also as excited as I am, and you still are as I am. Okay, well, thank you very much for making time.
Jan, thank you for having me.
Preparing all of this for us, for everyone who is watching. Well, first of all, I forgot my hat. You might have been wondering why I wasn't wearing it. That's why it's at home. I'll have it next time. Marketing has already did this to me, so it's fine. It's fine. Okay, no comments. But if you are watching from YouTube, don't forget, like, subscribe, ring that little bell so you're always notified on any new videos we make. And other than that, well, catch you on the next one, I guess. See ya!